True spring, also known as warm spring, is all about high saturation, warmth, and clear contrast. As part of the spring family, it embodies the most pure spring characteristics, which are warmth and brightness. Some other key traits are this warmth in the undertones of colors, bright and clear colors, so think vivid colors rather than something being muted, and having medium value, so not being too dark or too light, but a very clear, happy medium balance. So today I want to play with some of these bold and fresh colors and try a true spring color palette for myself. My name is Lexi, and this is part of my series of trying the 12 different color seasons, seeing if they actually hold any value to my features and just what I think about them. I love playing with color and makeup, so I'm really excited to play with this topic. So I did already start with my base. I wanted to keep it light and natural with a dewy finish to really enhance that bright and fresh look. So I did add a little bit of bronzing drops, and then I did just use a little bit of an eye brightener sample that I got as my concealer. For bronzer, I'm using my Tarte Park Ave Princess bronzer. This one has that kind of glowy base to it, and I think that really embodies the warmth and a little bit of that brightness with those warm tones. So before I do cheeks and lips, I want to start with the eyes because I just want to see how these bright, vivid colors are going to look in comparison. While I'm leaning more bright, I think I want to lean more into the warm category of these colors. So I'm thinking kind of peach tones, soft but warm beige / caramel shades, and just create a really nice, beautiful look with that. And then I will come back and see what I'm thinking for the rest of this look. As always, I am starting with my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer and a light layer of a shadow that is my skin tone. So I pulled out a lot of palettes for this look because I kind of want to dip into different warm tones, and I wasn't really sure exactly what to use. So my immediate thought was my Too Faced Better Than Chocolate palette. This one has so many like peachy undertones in these colors. I mean, they're so pretty. So I'm definitely gravitating towards like these two on the bottom. So we'll see. And then these browns are really warm and deep, so I might be dipping into some of those as well. Color palette I grabbed was my Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. I almost said High Glam. And this one has a lot of those like rosy peaches as well. So Vague is kind of like the immediate one I was thinking of. It has that almost peach undertone as well as Wit. I think Wit leans a bit more peach. This one is a bit deeper. And then this one definitely is more cool tones, so I will probably just stick to those peaches in here. Then I was kind of thinking that I want some of these warmer browns. So one shade is in my Star Wars Mandalorian palette. And the one I was thinking was just like a Tatooine? I don't know. I don't watch Star Wars. I just thought it was a cute palette. My boyfriend likes Star Wars, so I got this for her. But I think this one is like a really nice warm kind of caramel tone, and I think that will come really good for the crease. And then this is a possibility. I've done this before, but with my Hourglass Jaguar palette, I've used this highlight shade over the lid. It is stunning, though it leans more like yellow. Because we're in that warm family of colors, I'm thinking this might come in handy, so we'll see when we get to the final touches. So I guess the difficulty is, where do I start? I don't want to start too deep in the crease, but I want a nice transition shade. So I think I'm going to start with this palette. It has some of those like lighter browns, and I'm thinking of starting with Buttercream. It's kind of a mix of a warm, peachy, almost brown undertone. So I'm going to start with that with a fluffy brush in the crease and just kind of slowly work that in there. Well, I don't know what color season I am, but I think this one will look pretty good on me. These are colors that I gravitate towards, especially for work. I don't wear like super bright contrasting colors, at least for like eyeshadow to work. So I think this will be a color or a color story that suits me, that I enjoy. I like this one. It has a nice blend of that peachiness, but a little hint of warmth, but also a little neutral. It's really pretty shade. And I actually really love this palette. I've never had a Too Faced palette before, though there's quite a few that I can have my eyes on. But I think this one is just perfect for everyday wear, and then you do get some fun pops of color in there. And I'm thinking of keeping this look more rounded rather than like very angular and sharp. I think this one, there isn't that high contrast, but it's more of just a nice balance of colors, leaning warm and bright. So I kind of want to keep things a little bit more rounded today. So I think I'm happy with that. It just added a little bit of definition to the eyes. I think I'm going to deepen up the crease with one of these darker browns. I'm thinking nice buns. It's just a nice like neutral brown right here. And we go in with that same fluffy brush, but focus it more on the outer half of my crease, just a tiny bit, and then blending it out. And you can always like turn the brush too, so you get kind of like a clean side to blend on. And again, we're just going to deepen it up just a little bit more with the browns, and then we will focus on brightening up the eye. Honestly, I think I'm gonna stay with this palette, and Cake My Day is kind of like this reddish brown. I really like the warmness of that. And I'm going with a smaller but dense brush. Hopefully this one isn't too big. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of focus it down here. So I think that's as deep as I want to go because we do want to focus on the brightness of this look. So I want to kind of find a peach to kind of blend all over the lid, and then maybe a topper, we'll see. And for the peach, I'm thinking wit because it has that brightness that I want, as well as a hint of warmth, though it is more of a neutral. So I think I'm gonna go in with that fluffy brush again and just try and focus this where the dark brown isn't. I don't know if it's just me, but this eye is looking a little darker. I started with that one, so I'm thinking maybe there's a little pigment from the last shade on my brush. Okay, I'm liking how it's looking so far, though we went a little too deep, I think, and we need to add some of that brightness. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it in the inner corner, but definitely the lower lash line. I was thinking of lining with my e.l.f. No Budge Shadow Stick. And this one is Copper Chic. I think that's why I said stick. But I want to line the lower lashes with this, and it's just a nice like copper tone just to kind of help fuse the colors together. But I feel like if you use these shades it can get a little too smoky, and this one is just light enough. So I do think I'm going to go into this palette, into that highlight shade, just to really amp up this brightness on the lid because it is nowhere to be found at the moment. And I know this can do the job. Perfect. Okay, we're definitely getting that brightness coming out now. And I like because this one also has a warm undertone, kind of yellow. Okay, I'm gonna go add some mascara and eyeliner to kind of really get how the eyes are gonna look before I finish the rest of the face. So I did add brown mascara and brown liner, and I didn't want it to be winged because, again, not really looking for angular shapes, but really just rounded, that happy medium that I was talking about. And honestly, I feel like the mascara kind of deepened up the look a little too much, but we'll roll with it. So for blush, I'm thinking of leaning a little more into that peachiness. This is a great one from Tarte, and this is the shade Captivating. My all-time favorite for peach. It does look a little muted though, so I'm thinking of topping it with a shade from the Hourglass palette because those kind of have that reflective shimmer in there. I'm thinking this shade right here, nice little shimmer. But I think I'm gonna start with this one to get the pigment down and then add a little bit of that shine on top. And I'm thinking of going kind of for like a rounded romantic placement, like that boyfriend blush placement. Okay, I'm happy with that, and then I'm just gonna do a touch of this because the sheen on there is pretty strong, so I don't want it to be too much. Okay, and then finally for the lips, I'm thinking of going really into that brightness, and I'm thinking of a coral shade. So this is actually a blush by Milani. It's Coral Crush, and I'm thinking of using it on the lips. I hope it works. It's a little more cool toned, I think. I'm gonna do it. Let's just go for it. So I'm just gonna use a little lip liner brush. I'm a little worried now. I think I've kind of psyched myself out of it, but we'll see how it looks. If not, I can always wipe it off. Okay, it's not as like bright as I was expecting it to be, so I think this could work. So here is the final look. I don't know. don't know where I was going with that, but it's brighter, which is what I want, but it definitely doesn't really go into the category of everything else. I don't know, maybe I add a little bit of the blush to the look. Okay, I think that actually helps, because at least this pigment is somewhere else on my face, so it doesn't look totally random. So I think the color of it, and it is bright and it is warm, I think that really goes into the look, but look at this side compared to this side. Yeah, I think it helps. I'm gonna do a little bit on the other side as well. So as I was trying to say before, I think that the lip really does embody like the true spring with the brightness and warmth, but it just wasn't really working until I added some to the cheeks. So I do really enjoy this look. I think I went a little too much with like the bronzer and bronzing drops, but for summer, this looks like a really fun look, even though it is a spring shade or spring archetype, but I do really enjoy it. I don't know, it doesn't really feel spring to me, though I did use a lot of those warm and peachy shades. It doesn't feel spring, it just looks like a very like bronzy look, which I think it's still really pretty. It's just not spring. I don't know. Maybe this translates better with clothing, but I like how this came out. I could definitely wear this, though I don't even think I fit into like the true spring character. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!